They shoved me out the door, and the first thing I saw was an old barefoot woman standing at the bottom of our driveway, watching everything. Not my father's rage, not my mother turning the lock, just her, hair silver, feet bleeding on the concrete, staring at me like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. My duffel bag hit the ground beside me. The door slammed. Silence. The woman tilted her head, eyes sharp enough to cut through the cold desert air. "They always show their true faces at the end," she whispered. And then she vanished behind the hedges before I could even take a breath. If you've ever been blindsided by the people you trusted most, drop a "been there" or your city in the comments. I promise, it helps more than you think. And stay with me, because what happened after this moment, even I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't lived it. My name is Ava Lennox, I'm 30, and until 12 hours earlier, my biggest problem was a corporate layoff in downtown Denver. 6 years at a boutique design firm, gone with one restructuring email. I packed my sketches, my half-dead office plant, and drove 6 hours south to my parents' new home in Mesa, thinking I just needed a place to crash for a week. I really believed they'd open the door. I really believed family meant something. I really believed I wasn't alone. But when I walked in, Riley, my cousin who'd once braided my hair before school every morning, already had her phone up, recording. My mom commented on the dirt on my sneakers before she asked if I was okay. My father didn't ask a single question. He just said, "Ava, we're done cleaning up after you." 15 minutes later, I was on the curb with one duffel bag, a maxed-out credit card, and the memory of that barefoot woman who appeared out of nowhere, spoke like she knew my entire life, and disappeared just as quickly. I should have been thinking about betrayal. I should have been thinking about where I'd sleep. But all I could think about was her, and how she somehow appeared the exact second my family shut the door on me for good. For the first few minutes after the door shut behind me, I kept telling myself it wasn't real. People don't just eject their daughter onto the street like a malfunctioning appliance. Not sober, not on a Tuesday night. My mind kept looping the same soft denial. They're upset. They'll cool off. Someone will open the door. But the cold has a way of telling the truth faster than people do. And the truth hit me in small, creeping waves first. A shiver in my fingers, the muffled roar of the wind rolling down the desert hills, the ache in my chest spreading outward like spilled ink. I pulled my duffel closer, trying to steady my breathing. "Okay, Ava, don't panic yet. One thing at a time." The street was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world has already moved on without you. A car passed in the distance, its headlights briefly lighting the driveway where the barefoot woman had stood. I kept expecting her to reappear, to step out of the shadows, to explain how she somehow knew the deepest truth I wasn't ready to admit. This wasn't sudden. It had been building for years. The tension inside me was slow at first, like a pot warming on low heat. My dad's voice from earlier echoed in my skull. "We're done cleaning up after you." Cleaning up after me? I'd been paying my own bills since 22. I'd never once asked them for rent, tuition, anything. Meanwhile, Leo burned through money like it was jet fuel, and they still called him the promising one. A sharp bitterness flared in my throat. There it was, the next level of heat. I walked toward the street, the gravel crunching under my shoes. Every step felt heavier, like I was dragging years of swallowed frustration behind me. I kept replaying every moment I'd brushed off, excused, minimized. Mom forgetting my promotion dinner 2 years ago because Leo got tickets to a Lakers game. Dad praising Leo's entrepreneurial spirit after he'd bankrupted 2 failed apps. Riley whispering to me at Thanksgiving, "You know they only brag about you when Leo isn't in the room, right?" Those memories didn't come gently. They slapped. By the time I reached the sidewalk, my chest felt tight, like something was building inside me much faster than I could contain it. The night air smelled like creosote and dust, dry, restless, electric. A storm brewing over a desert that rarely forgives. Why wasn't I enough for them? The question rose uninvited, raw and sharp, and then another, why did it take getting thrown out to finally see it? That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Leo. A single message that detonated everything inside me. "Great performance, sis. Views are climbing already." My blood went ice cold. He'd filmed it. Not because he was angry, not because he was worried, because it was content. The pot inside me didn't simmer anymore. It boiled over. The betrayal hit all at once, a tidal wave crashing through every memory, every lie I'd swallowed for the sake of keeping the peace. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped the phone. I wanted to scream, to throw it across the street, to run until my lungs burned. But instead, I just stood there, shaking under a street lamp that buzzed like it might die out at any second. That was the breaking point. Not the shove, not the door, not the words. The realization that they hadn't hurt me by accident. They'd planned the spectacle. They'd rehearsed my humiliation, and they enjoyed it. My throat tightened. My vision blurred. The world felt too sharp and too far away all at once. And in that moment, that collapsing, suffocating, shattering moment, something inside me didn't break. It woke up. I didn't notice I was walking until my shoes hit pavement warmer than the driveway I'd been thrown from. My feet moved on their own, like my body couldn't bear to be anywhere near the place I'd just realized had never been home. The streetlights along the cul-de-sac flickered in that unreliable way, humming, buzzing, dimming, like they too were tired of pretending everything was fine in this picture-perfect neighborhood. I kept replaying Leo's text. My brother's handwriting burned across the screen. Views are climbing already. He didn't see me. Not as a sister, not as a person, just content. A moment he could monetize with a caption and a smirk. My throat tightened. For a second, I felt like I couldn't breathe, like all the air in the world was being used by someone else. I stopped under a jacaranda tree, shedding its purple blossoms onto the sidewalk. It would have been beautiful if my world wasn't falling apart. A sudden gust of wind made the petals scatter like confetti, the kind they threw at Leo when his second startup got funded, even though the company folded 6 months later. The kind my parents never bothered to throw for me. I watched the petals tumble and thought, of course, even the tree celebrates him before me. The bitterness wasn't quiet anymore. It roared. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to calm the shaking. Why does this hurt so much? But I already knew the answer. Hurt isn't just pain, it's recognition. I was finally recognizing the truth I'd spent years dressing up in nicer language. I wasn't the daughter they wanted. I was the placeholder they tolerated. The night around me felt huge, endless, the kind of dark that makes you realize just how small you are. I should have kept walking, found a motel, called someone, anyone, but my phone had 6% battery and my contacts list was embarrassingly short. Work friends had their own lives. College friends had drifted. The one person who might have answered, my grandma, had died 2 years ago. That loneliness hit harder than the cold. I kept walking until the neat sidewalks gave way to a strip of undeveloped desert between neighborhoods. A low stone bench sat under a dead billboard frame, and I sank onto it, my duffel slumping at my feet like a tired animal. For the first time since the door slammed, I cried, not the pretty movie kind. The real kind, the kind that feels like your ribs might crack from the pressure. Tears hot, breath jagged, shoulders shaking. I cried for the child I used to be, the one who tried so hard to win gold stars and laughter and approval. I cried for the teenager who thought graduating early would finally make Dad proud. I cried for the woman who still believed, stupidly, stubbornly, that if she just worked harder, she'd be enough. The night didn't comfort me. It didn't even pretend to. But after a while, the storm inside me slowly ebbed. Not gone, but quieter, like it was gathering itself, waiting for the next battle. My breathing steadied. My heartbeat found a rhythm that didn't feel like it was trying to escape my chest, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, slow, deliberate. I didn't look up immediately. I didn't want another witness to this version of me, but the footsteps stopped right in front of me, and an all-too-familiar voice drifted into the air. "You're stronger than you think, Ava." My head snapped up. Her, the barefoot woman, standing under the billboard frame like she belonged there, except she didn't look the same. The wildness in her hair was still there, but something about her posture was different. Straighter, calmer, almost regal in a strange, worn way. The moonlight caught the edges of her face, revealing features that didn't belong to someone as fragile as she'd looked earlier. "How are you?" "Here." She smiled softly. "Because this is where you needed someone to be." Her presence made no sense. Nothing about this night made sense. But instead of fear, something else bloomed in my chest, something I hadn't felt in hours. A thin thread of hope, small, trembling, but real. "Why did you say what you said?" I asked. "About people showing their true faces?" She stepped closer. "Because you saw the truth tonight, and the truth," she said gently, "is a painful kind of freedom." I exhaled shakily. She wasn't wrong. Losing everything felt like being hollowed out, but in the hollow, something new was echoing, a faint pulse of possibility. She glanced at my duffel, then at my tear-streaked face. "You're standing at the start of something, Ava. You don't see it yet, but you will." Before I could ask what she meant, headlights swept over us, a car approaching fast. She looked toward it, then back at me with eyes suddenly fierce. "When the moment comes," she whispered, "don't look back." And then, like earlier, she turned and disappeared into the darkness between the desert shrubs, swallowed by the night. I stood there, stunned, heart pounding, knowing two things with absolute clarity. My life had just collapsed, and something else, something bigger, was already beginning. The headlights veered toward me, cutting through the darkness like a blade. For half a second, my breath stalled. The desert was too open, too quiet, too full of unknowns. But the car slowed, rolling to a stop a few yards from the bench. A sleek black sedan, windows tinted so dark they swallowed their own reflection. Something inside me twisted. This wasn't a neighborhood where strangers drove at 1 a.m. And yet, this one had come straight toward me. The driver's door opened first. A woman stepped out, tall, composed, dressed in a charcoal blazer that didn't match the hour or the place. She moved with the kind of efficiency that made it clear she wasn't lost. She was on schedule. "Ava Lennox?" she asked. Her voice was crisp, East Coast polished, the kind you hear in boardrooms or courtrooms. My pulse jumped. "How do you know my name?" She didn't answer. Instead, she opened the back door and stepped aside with quiet precision, like revealing something, someone, important. And then I saw her, the barefoot woman, except she wasn't barefoot now, and she wasn't frail, and she wasn't dressed in a cardigan stiff with desert dust. She sat inside the car like she belonged to a different world altogether, hair neatly twisted back, a camel coat draped over her shoulders, pearls glinting faintly at her ears. Her posture was straight, elegant, composed, not a ghost, a queen. She looked at me with the same piercing eyes from earlier, only now I understood why they had unsettled me so deeply. They weren't the eyes of someone broken by life. They were the eyes of someone who'd seen its darkest corners and learned how to own them. "Ava," she said softly, "I was hoping you'd still be here." Hope? She had hoped? For me? My knees felt unsteady as I stepped closer. Who are you?" She didn't flinch, didn't look away. "My name is Eleanor Vale, and before you ask, yes, I know you have no reason to trust me, but I promise you this. I didn't come to hurt you. I came because tonight you were brave in a way most people aren't." Brave. The word lodged in my throat. I felt anything but brave. Lost, humiliated, abandoned. But she spoke like she'd witnessed something I myself had missed. I don't understand, I whispered. She gestured to the seat beside her. Come inside. You're freezing. Against every instinct, but guided by something deeper, that strange thread of intuition that had tugged at me ever since she appeared, I slid into the back seat. The warmth hit instantly. So did the silence. A heavy, expectant kind of silence that made the moment feel bigger than it should have been. The door shut. The driver returned to the wheel. The car pulled away. I swallowed hard. Why me? Eleanor studied me for a long moment, not with pity, with recognition, a kind of solemn understanding that made my skin prickle. Because, she said, I watch people, more than I speak to them. And tonight I saw someone who lost everything in one brutal moment and still didn't let it turn her cruel. Her words hit deeper than I wanted to admit. You watched? I asked, voice trembling. Her nod was small but certain. Yes, I saw them push you out. I saw how you tried to hold yourself together. And I saw what most people would have missed. The way you didn't blame the world for what they did to you. Heat rose in my face, not embarrassment, something sharper. Anger, grief, hope? I couldn't tell. She continued, voice quiet but unwavering. I wasn't there to stop what happened, but I was there to see who you became in the aftermath. My fingers tightened in my lap. Tonight, she said, you didn't break. You bent, and that is far rarer. The city lights began to appear through the windows as we left the outskirts behind. The world outside moved fast, but inside the car, everything felt suspended, held in place by something I couldn't name. Eleanor leaned forward slightly, her expression softening. Ava, I don't expect you to trust me. Not yet. But I can offer you something you don't have right now. Time, safety, a place to breathe. My throat tightened. A place to breathe. The very thing I came home hoping for. The one thing my own family couldn't give me. She held my gaze. Come with me tonight. If you decide in the morning that you want to leave, I'll take you wherever you wish. No strings, no debts, just a door that doesn't close on you. The words fractured something inside me. The last thin layer of disbelief clinging to the hope I'd buried. I didn't know who she truly was. I didn't know what she wanted. But for the first time in hours, maybe years, I felt the air return to my lungs. And when she reached out her hand, steady and warm, I realized something. Sometimes the universe doesn't wait for you to stand up. Sometimes it sends someone to lift you before you know you can rise. I took her hand. And without knowing it, I stepped into the night that would change everything. The car carried us into a different world, one where the streetlights turned gold instead of flickering, where gated entrances whispered open instead of slamming shut, where silence felt intentional, not empty. I watched the desert fade into manicured palms and wide, winding driveways. Everything looked too polished, too still, too unreal. Eleanor didn't speak again until the sedan rolled to a stop before a sprawling adobe estate tucked behind towering mesquite trees. Lanterns glowed along the stone path, warm and steady, nothing like the cold porch light that had died behind me hours earlier. Come, she said gently, as if she knew I might bolt. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and orange blossoms, soft and grounding. A fire crackled in a wide hearth. No yelling, no slamming doors, no judgment hanging in the corners like smoke. Just warmth. It almost hurt. A woman in her 50s, sharp suit, sharper posture, approached us. Ms. Lennox, she said with a respectful nod. I'm Dana. I assist Mrs. Vale. Assist. The word felt too small for her presence. She radiated competence. Eleanor motioned toward a hallway. Ava, let me show you where you'll stay tonight. The guest suite wasn't a room. It was a sanctuary, soft amber sconces, a bed that looked like it remembered every person who ever rested on it, a window overlooking a courtyard fountain where water fell in slow, gentle arcs. I stood there, duffel dangling from my hand, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to exist in a space that didn't demand I shrink. "You can sleep," Eleanor said, "or shower, or cry, or just breathe. Everything else can wait until morning." Something tightened in my throat. Nobody had ever spoken to me like that. With softness, not suspicion. "Why?" I whispered. "Why help me?" Eleanor's eyes softened, but her answer was not soft. "Because I know exactly what it feels like to be pushed away by the people who should have loved you most, and I know what it takes to rebuild from ashes that weren't your fault." The words struck deeper than I expected. My legs felt suddenly unsteady. She added quietly, "And because strength like yours is rare, it deserves a chance." Then she left me alone in the quiet. I didn't sleep right away. I wandered the room like a ghost, touching the carved wooden dresser, the cool marble sink, the soft blanket folded at the foot of the bed. Each object felt like proof I hadn't imagined the entire night. Finally, under the warm water of the shower, water that didn't sputter, didn't run cold, didn't echo like an empty apartment would, my shaking began to ease. I kept seeing my father's hand pushing me out, Leo's grin behind the camera, my mother's silence, and then Eleanor's steady gaze, her hand reaching for me in the car, a door closing, a door opening. When I finally lay down, exhaustion washed over me, but not the hopeless kind. Something small flickered beneath the fatigue, fragile, trembling, but alive. Possibility. And for the first time in a very long time, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, losing everything wasn't the end. Maybe it was the start. By the time dawn crept across the desert horizon, casting pale gold over the adobe walls and the quiet courtyard, I felt something inside me settle, like dust finally sinking after a long, choking storm. The world hadn't magically fixed itself overnight. My family hadn't apologized, my job hadn't returned, my bruised heart hadn't fully healed. But for the first time in my life, I woke up in a place where the doors didn't slam, where the air didn't feel thin around me, and where someone who owed me nothing, believed I was worth saving. That morning, standing barefoot on the cool tiles, I understood something I had been too hurt to see. Sometimes the people who break you are not the measure of your worth, only the beginning of your becoming. Eleanor didn't promise me a fairy tale. She didn't hand me a miracle. She offered something far rarer, a path, a mentor, a chance to rise from the ashes without pretending the fire hadn't scorched me first. And I am learning, that standing up doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like taking a shower in a warm, safe room after being thrown into the night. Sometimes it looks like letting someone help you. Sometimes it looks like choosing not to go back to the place that hurt you, even when you miss the idea of it. In the end, the lesson that stayed with me was simple, sharp, and liberating. Family isn't who shares your blood, it's who shares their strength when yours is gone. If my story reached you, if you've ever stood at a closed door or walked alone in the cold, or wondered why the people you loved couldn't love you back, please know this: you are not the only one, and you are not finished. Drop a comment with where you're watching from, or just a simple, "I'm still standing." You never know who else might need to see your words and feel a little less alone. Thank you for staying with me, for listening, for holding space for a story that wasn't always easy to tell. If this video meant something to you, if it gave you clarity, comfort, or even just a moment where your heart felt seen, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps this community grow, one brave viewer at a time. And don't miss the next chapter. What comes after this night is something I never expected, something that changed everything. I'll meet you there.